Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, commanded armies, and held more formal power than almost anyone alive in his time. And yet some of his sharpest battles were fought not on a battlefield, but against people who attacked him without warning or reason, then explained themselves only after the damage was done, or never explained at all. In his private notebook, the collection of reflections we now call meditations, he wrote himself reminders over and over on how to face people who strike first and think later. It's strange how relevant those private notes still feel, almost 2,000 years later, to anyone who has ever been blindsided by someone else's accusation. 1. The first sign: accusation before evidence. A manipulator who senses, even unconsciously, that they're about to be caught in something often attacks before you can even bring the issue up yourself. If someone suddenly accuses you of dishonesty, disloyalty, or selfishness completely out of nowhere, with no real provocation from you, it's worth pausing and asking what exactly they might be trying to protect themselves from in that moment. 2. The second sign: disproportionate anger. A small disagreement should, in any reasonable exchange, produce a small reaction. When the response is explosive compared to the size of the actual trigger, a missed text, a delayed reply, a mild disagreement about plans, it usually means the real target of that anger isn't you at all. It's something already sitting inside them, something you simply happen to brush against. 3. The third sign: rewriting the timeline. Manipulators are often remarkably skilled at shifting when events really happened, twisting who said what first, blurring the order of a conversation until you start to doubt your own memory of it. This isn't ordinary confusion or a simple misunderstanding. It's frequently a deliberate fog, whether consciously built or not, designed to make the facts feel unstable enough that you stop trusting your own account of what occurred. 4. The fourth sign: making your boundary the crime. The moment you say no, set a limit, or simply disagree with something, you suddenly become the villain of their story. This reversal, where your reasonable boundary gets recast as the actual offense, is one of the clearest signs of projection at work, taking their own wrongdoing and quietly relocating it onto you, where it's easier for them to manage. 5. The fifth sign: urgency without substance. Notice how often they need an immediate reaction from you, before you've had time to think clearly or check the facts. Confusion and speed are tools in this dynamic. Calm, unhurried reflection is the enemy of manipulation, because manipulation rarely survives careful, patient scrutiny. 6. Why this pattern repeats across so many relationships. Once you start recognizing these 5 signs, you may notice the same shape appearing in different relationships throughout your life. A parent, a partner, a coworker, a friend. That's not a coincidence either. People who rely on preemptive attack as a defense mechanism tend to use it broadly, in nearly every relationship where they feel even slightly exposed, because it has worked for them before. 7. The stoic response. Marcus Aurelius didn't teach revenge, and he didn't teach pretending the attack never happened. He taught observation. When attacked unfairly, he reminded himself, repeatedly, in his own private writing, that the other person's behavior reflects their own inner state, not the actual truth about him. You can apply the same discipline. Notice the attack as it happens. Name it quietly to yourself for what it is, and refuse to let someone else's chaos rewrite your own sense of reality. 7.5. Why some people never strike first with strangers, only with people close to them. This pattern often intensifies specifically in relationships where the stakes feel highest: a spouse, a sibling, a business partner, because those are the relationships where being exposed would cost the most. The closer someone is to you, the more motivated they may be to control the narrative before you can question it. 8. What this looks like in practice. And one more layer worth naming: people who attack first often have a remarkable memory for every time they were genuinely wronged, paired with a much shorter memory for the times they did the wronging. Watching for that asymmetry over time tells you more than any single argument ever could. It might mean pausing before responding to an accusation, simply saying, "I need a moment before I answer that," rather than scrambling to defend yourself immediately. It might mean refusing to argue about a timeline you know is being deliberately distorted, and instead calmly stating what you remember once, without repeating yourself 5 more times to convince them. The final lesson. The people who strike first are rarely the strongest people in the room. They're often the most afraid of being seen clearly, the most desperate to control the narrative before someone else gets the chance to. Marcus Aurelius's wisdom was never really about winning the fight. It was about refusing to let someone else's chaos become the architecture of your own inner life, no matter how loudly or how suddenly they tried to make it yours.